What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for another episode of the Premier League SPUR-SPECTIVE, which is the review show from Predict the Prem, where me and brother go head-to-head in predicting Premier League outcomes. The scores on the doors at the moment is 70 points to Sim, 79 points to me, and the way the scoring works, it is 5 points for a completely correct scoreline, 1 point for a correct result, and the star man as well, as once you pick that man, you cannot pick them for the remainder of the season. It's 5 points for a goal, 3 points for assist, and let's get straight into it with the first game of the weekend, which was Brentford against Brighton, which finished 2-0 to Brentford on the day. 2 goals from Ivan Toney, carrying on his amazing form at the start of this season. Sim went 2-2, I went 1-0 to Brighton, so both of us get 0 points here. I thought, I was watching a bit of this game, I didn't watch the whole thing, but I thought Brighton started pretty well in this game, but Ivan Toney offered them a sucker punch, and then Brighton didn't really find a way to get back into the game.
Yeah, it was one of those ones where Brighton were having a lot of the possession, and Raya had a brilliant game in the Brentford goal, and they just couldn't seem to get past him. But Brentford were clinical in the counter, and Mbeumo was looking dangerous, and obviously the front three, Mbeumo, Wissa and Toney, were causing problems on the counter-attack, and Ivan Toney got a couple of moments, one brilliant back heel finish, which got the first goal, and then he got the penalty. And once it's 2-0, it's very difficult for Brighton to get back in the game with, I know they've got a good attacking team, but their quality isn't quite, of the top 6 variety. So you do expect that if you're 2-0 down and you defend right, you are going to keep them out, and that's what happened. And you got to give massive credit to the Brentford keeper Raya. I thought he was probably man of the match, but Brentford were clinical, and that's where sometimes all you need to be in certain games. So Brighton won't be too upset, will be a bit upset with the fact that they lost the game they were in control of, but that's just how it goes sometimes.
Absolutely. But that's now that's 3 games under De Zerbi for Brighton. No wins on the board yet. First game was very impressive against Liverpool, which they should have won. The next game they played fairly well against us, which they lost. And now they back it up with a loss against Brentford. So things not going all swimmingly at Brighton at the moment.
Yeah, he needs his first win. I don't think they're playing too differently.
They're not.
But I just think he needs that first win to get him underway.
Yeah. All right, moving on to the next game, which was Leicester against Crystal Palace, which finished 0-0 at the King Power. Another game where a goalkeeper got man of the match. This time it was Danny Ward of Leicester. Sim went 3-2 to Leicester. I went 3-1 to Palace, but it was a board draw, and nobody would have predicted that before the game, to be honest. 0-0 in a Leicester game. But look, I thought it was a fairly poor game, to be honest, with both teams having their chances and none of them taking it, really.
Yeah, I don't think it was a very good game of football. 90 minutes I won't get back. Leicester, who would be more disappointed? Probably Leicester being at home. The fact they lost last week to Bournemouth, they wanted to react to that, didn't quite do it. And the fact that Maddison as well got a booking in the literally last kick of the game. He got a booking for simulation, which means he's got a 1-match suspension, and considering the form he's been in, that already hurt them. So not good, not great for Leicester. Palace will probably take a draw away from home, so it is what it is with that.
Yeah, so 0 points each for us there. Let's move on to Fulham against Bournemouth at Craven Cottage, which finished 2-2 on the day. Sim went 1-0 to Fulham. I went 1-1, so I gained a point in this one. And it was the tale of 2 strikers in this game. Big Dom Solanke for Bournemouth coming through once again with a goal and an assist. Mitrovic back in the side and getting his side deserved point, really, yesterday at Craven Cottage.
Yeah, I thought first half Bournemouth were definitely deserving to be in the lead, and I thought they were the better team, and kind of Fulham got the goal against run of play to equalise after Bournemouth went ahead within, I think, under 1 minute. Solanke scored. Really fast start for Bournemouth, showing the confidence they're playing with right now under Gary O'Neill. Then Fulham equalised, I thought, undeservedly. Bournemouth took the lead deservedly. Jefferson Lowe with a nice finish, and then second half came. It was pretty much one-way traffic in the second half. Fulham did step it up a bit. Mitrovic, though, didn't feel like he looked quite himself during the game. He did get the goal from a penalty, which he won when he was dragged down, but I just felt like he still wasn't 100% fit. He's kind of come back from injury, but he's so important. I understand why they rushed him back. But I think Fulham will be a bit unhappy they didn't go on and win the game because they dominated in the second half. But Bournemouth stay unbeaten under Gary O'Neill. Really impressive. I think it was 6 games now.
Yeah, 6 games. It is impressive. I saw that. I was watching the highlights in this game, and you know who really impresses me is Andreas Pereira. I think he's a really good player, and his set pieces ability is unbelievable. I mean, he was putting in corner after corner, and they were on the money every time, and they failed to capitalise on it as much as they should have done. But he did put one in the first 20 minutes for Diop that did go in the back of the net. But he's a real talent, I tell you that. Let's move on to the next game, which was Wolves against Nottingham Forest, which finished 1-0 to Wolves on the day. Sim went 1-1. I went 1-0, so I get all 5 points for this one. Very close for Sim getting all 5 points as Brennan Johnson misses a penalty in the last 10 minutes. But unfortunately, it's the way the cookie crumbles.
Yeah, to be fair, I was watching the game, and I think Wolves did deserve the victory. I think they were the better team for most of the game. Forest really flattered to deceive. They're really disappointing. They had loads of chances to create. They had loads of opportunities to create chances, but unfortunately, the quality. There's no real cohesion at the moment with Forest, and I still think Cooper has a big job on his hands getting this team together because they're still lacking in knowing their roles, and especially going forward, they're very, very disjointed. Like when the ball gets to Gibbs White or to Emmanuel Dennis or to Johnson, they all seem to be trying to do things by themselves instead of actually playing as a team, and that's a big problem at the moment with Nottingham Forest. Wolves, on the other hand, I don't think they played particularly well, Wolves, but they were just a bit more together than Nottingham Forest, and maybe that just lends to the fact that they've been together as a team a lot longer. I thought, what's his name, Traore, he started the game and he was quite a big threat down the right-hand side, but didn't really have the quality, as per usual, to find a man. Costa was causing a bit of trouble from set pieces, but never really threatened. And they got a goal from a penalty, from a VAR penalty, which was a handball. Never scored. It was a really poor game. Wolves just shaded it, I think deservedly so. But Forest, missing a penalty late on, will be kicking themselves. And they're really in big trouble. I mean, and they got a draw last week against Villa, but other than that, they're really not getting many points at the moment.
I think they seem a bit destined for the drop at the moment. I mean, we were saying it about Bournemouth early stages of the season. They seem to turn it around, but Nottingham Forest just seem...
At the moment, yeah, I agree with you, but the thing is, if they do start to click, they do have good players. That's the thing. I really like Johnson and Gibbs White and Dennis. I think they're all really good players, but at the moment, they're not clicking. They're very disjointed. But
you can't bring in 20 new players and expect it to click straight away. And I think once it does click, it might be a little too late.
But maybe not, because if it does, say in the second half of the season, if it does start to click them, they go on a bit of a run. I mean, it's still very tight at the bottom, so it just needs a good run and they can drag themselves to safety. So I wouldn't write them off just yet, but right now they need to get their act together quickly.
And with Wolves, I think that you know what you're going to get with Wolves, no matter who the manager is. Defensive solidity and not much going forward, and that's exactly what we saw, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much.
Moving on to the Tottenham game. Tottenham 2, Everton 0. Both of us going for 3-0 to Spurs, so 1 point each for that one. And it was, I mean, we've covered this game to death, but it was domination, wasn't it? Total domination for the most part.
Yeah, and we deserved a victory. It'll probably be the only disappointment maybe is that it wasn't by a few more goals. I think really that would have. I think 3-0 would have been more correct scoreline for the performance. I think we barely gave Everton a sniff throughout the game. They didn't really create any chances. They got some chances for our mistakes, which they missed. But Spurs were in the end of the day got the goals there that their pressure deserved, and we thoroughly deserved all 3 points.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it caps off our best ever start to a Premier League season.
Come on, let's move on and let's go to Villa against Chelsea at Villa Park. Finished 2-0 to Chelsea. Sim went 3-1 to Chelsea. I went 2-0 to Chelsea. So Sim gets a point there. I get all 5 points once again. And, the scoreline suggests this was all one-way traffic for Chelsea, but it really wasn't. I mean, Aston Villa actually played fairly well. Kepa was outstanding, making 7 saves on the day. And Villa probably should have got something out of this game.
How Villa didn't score this game is genuinely unbelievable. I mean, Kepa was turned into prime like Manuel Neuer or Buffon or whatever you want to call him, because he was absolutely sensational. And now all of a sudden he's looking like there's a reason why he's the world's most expensive goalkeeper with this performance, because some of the saves he had absolutely no right to make some of the saves he made yesterday. Villa, you got to feel for them a bit because all the pressure Gerrard's under, they needed a big performance. They needed to start getting, I mean, I know they were unbeaten I think in 4 games prior, but I think it was 3 draws and a win. So they needed to start getting wins on the board, and they came out firing. It did remind me a bit when they played us last season in that first half where they absolutely battered us, but Lloris had a worldie of a first half, and they went on to lose the game. They did kind of run out of steam a bit in that second half. This first half was so good and they created so many chances. The fact they didn't get any goals to show for it probably knocked their confidence a bit, and they did run out a bit of steam in the second half, albeit I still think they had some chances, and Chelsea were just clinical on the day. To be fair to Chelsea though, as much as they were under the cosh and Kepa kept them in it, there was a bit of quality there. Sterling, I think, hit the bar and he missed a couple of chances. Mason Mount capitalised on a really horrible mistake.
Mason Mount, by the way, I thought he was their best player by a mile.
I mean, he capitalised on to be honest, I think both goals were big mistakes. I think the first goal,
regardless of the goals, I'm saying I thought he had a really strong game.
Yeah, he's a good player, and he's starting to after a pretty poor start to the season, he's starting to get into the season now. But the first goal was a horrible mistake by Mings, which skewed a header completely, clearance completely wrong. Doing? Yeah, horrible clearance. And then the second goal, the free kick looks good, but I don't think is actually that good of a free kick. I think he struck it well, but I think Martinez is massively at fault for that free kick.
He got caught wrong-footed. He was going the other way, and the free kick went the other way, like in the middle of the goal.
It was very central. Yeah. It wasn't even that near the corner, so I know it was quite high up, and it was with a lot of power and whatever. But I think 9 times out of 10, a keeper in the Premier League saves that.
I think if the keeper didn't go the wrong way, if he stood his ground where he was, he probably saves that.
Yeah.
But anyway.
So, yeah, I think Chelsea probably rode their luck in this one, and wasn't a performance that will make you think that they're playing very well. But, you know, they got the victory, and that's still unbeaten under Potter. I thought it's a run of 4 wins now in a row for him, so they'll take it.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's move on to Ellen Road, where Arsenal beat Leeds 1-0. Sim went 2-1. I went 3-1. Both of us getting a point here. And the result just doesn't tell the story of the game, to be honest, because I thought Leeds, especially in that second half, were unbelievable. I mean, it was wave after wave attack from Leeds. A few VAR decisions and refereeing decisions to talk about as well. I mean, the refereeing decision that stands out for me is that one right at the end when the penalty doesn't get given, which is fair enough, because there's a clear push in there from Bamford. But why is Gabriel's red card rescinded?
Yeah, I don't understand that. If he did kick out, he got sent off for kicking out. So just because he got fouled by Bamford before that doesn't mean he didn't kick out anymore. He still did that. So why the red card was rescinded, I don't understand. I understand that the penalty got overturned because he got fouled. So you have to give a free kick to Arsenal because that happened first. So whatever. Fair enough. But it wasn't even just that. Obviously, they missed a penalty. Bamford put it wide when he had a massive chance to equalise, but Bamford scored. For me, that was the biggest controversy of this game, because Bamford scored within a minute of the second half, and the referee gave it for a foul. I thought there was absolutely nothing in that. I thought he just outmuscled Gabriel. He got the finish there, and I think VAR should have told the referee, look, that's not a foul. You should overturn that. Unfortunately, the ref on field decision stood. The VAR didn't see enough to say that it was a massive mistake, and I think Leeds got robbed of a goal in that instance. Have it as well. Not just that. I just thought in general, how many chances Leeds had in this game was incredible, absolutely incredible. Arsenal were penned back. They couldn't get out. It was I've never seen Arsenal dominated so much. I think for sure this was their worst performance of the season, and it was the first time I think they've won a game where they've really not deserved to win it. And I think you can take it in a couple of ways. Either you can say, maybe their performances are starting to drop, because I didn't think, they're a bit lucky as well against Liverpool. Well, I guess they deserved the victory, but, they're lucky with the penalty. And then definitely against Leeds, they shouldn't have won that game, and they got very, very lucky to win. But that's 9 wins out of 10, so they'll absolutely take that victory for sure. And even the goal they got really lucky with, because what is Rodrigo doing? He's under no pressure, like there's no danger. He's in his own half, and he tries a suicidal switch of play and just gives it straight to Saka, and they go on and score the goal. And I just don't understand what he's doing. So pretty much from every angle, they got lucky in this game.
Yeah, and that makes it 2 games in a row now where they've really had the decisions go for them, where if they didn't have the decisions go for them, they probably drop points in the game. But yesterday, I mean, that second half from Leeds, it really was sensational. It was wave after wave after wave. They were, like you say, penning Arsenal back into their own half. Sinistera had so many chances to get on the score sheet. Bamford should have had that goal. I mean, it was just like non-stop, wasn't it? Aronson was playing really well. You've got to give credit to Leeds with the way they played, because because the way Arsenal have been playing this season, to put in a performance like that is absolutely brilliant. But they'll be kicking themselves they didn't get at least a point because they thoroughly deserved it.
They should. Look, the Leeds could have won this by 2 goals, and you wouldn't have said that was unfair. So I thought it was a brilliant performance by Leeds. But Arsenal, you just got to, at the moment, when you're winning games you deserve to lose, and then you're absolutely battering teams when you deserve to win. That's not a good sign. So hopefully they start dropping points soon.
Yeah. Let's move on to Manchester United. Newcastle at Old Trafford finished 0-0 on the day. Both of us going for 2-2, so a point each there. But a bit of a bore draw at Old Trafford. Kieran Trippier getting his man of the match in this game, but not much to speak about, to be honest.
Yeah, just really the refereeing decisions. Again, Man United felt like they should have had a couple of penalties. Newcastle felt like they should have had a penalty. And then there was a moment, it was a bit of a bizarre moment, I don't know if you saw it, where Newcastle have a free kick in their own half. The Newcastle player kicks the ball to Nick Pope to take the free kick. And as he kicks the ball back, Ronaldo out of nowhere says that the free kick's been taken, and he goes on and scores. And he's adamant that when the player kicks it back to Pope to take the free kick, that's the free kick being taken. Referee says no. Referee rules it out. I think that was the right decision. I think it was. I think the free kick hadn't been taken yet, so I think he got that right. The referee. I think Newcastle should have had a penalty, and I think they definitely should have the right to be aggrieved that wasn't given. Wilson charging for on goal, he got taken out. Definitely should have been a penalty there. And maybe Man United had a case for a foul on Ronaldo by Trippier as well. So I think everyone has a right to be aggrieved, I think, by the penalty decisions in that game. So a draw, probably a fair result.
Yeah, if that's the case, if everyone has the right to aggrieve, probably just take a point and move on.
Yeah.
And a big game for Man United this week against Spurs. And what do you make out of Newcastle? Because obviously a bit of Jekyll and Hyde so far this season. I mean, they had a hard start to the season. They backed it up with 2 amazing wins, big wins over the last 2 games. And now with a draw at Old Trafford, which, you know, they probably thought it might be a good time to win at Old Trafford, seeing as they've got a really poor run there since the start of the Premier League. What do you make out of Newcastle?
I think they'll take it. I think it's a good result. Away at Old Trafford, even if you're going for Europe, I think that's a good result. So I think Newcastle will be happy with how things are going at the moment. I think they went on a run just after the first week of the season, a bit too long without winning, but they're still playing well. I think they've still got players to come back from injury. Isaac and Alan Saint-Maximin are still out for injury. Apparently they're going to miss our game next week as well. So they're waiting for them to come back, and they don't at the moment. They still don't quite, even with all the money they have, they don't quite have the squad depth to cope with all these injuries. You know, when you've got people like Jacob Murphy coming in and things like that. Big drop-off in quality from their first 11. So I still think Eddie Howe's doing a very good job, and I think they're getting decent results. So I don't think they'll be too disappointed with how things are going. I think, look, the aim for them is probably, I mean, if your a good season is probably 7th, you know, Conference League football, an amazing season is Europa League. So whether they're on track for that or not, I think they're doing all right.
All right, let's move on to Southampton against West Ham. Finished 1-1 on the day. Sim went 2-1 to Southampton. I went 2-1 to West Ham. And you know what? I should probably be taking at least a point from this game, because I thought West Ham thoroughly deserved the victory in this game. They had the best part of 30 attempts on goal throughout the match, 29 I think it was. And you know, Southampton take the lead early. West Ham get it back within about half an hour to go. And I really expected West Ham to go on and finish off the game and really win the game, but they just couldn't get the goal.
Yeah, they had too many missed chances, and that was the tail of it. I wasn't really focusing on this game because there was 3 other games more important to me going on at that time. But West Ham will be very disappointed they didn't get the victory, especially as well. They'll be happy that they finished the game stronger, considering they were playing on Thursday and Southampton had a free week. So the fact that they were able to have the stamina to have a much stronger finish would be a good sign going forward. But they'll be, a point away from home for a team like West Ham is never a terrible result, but especially under the circumstances, they'll be kicking themselves if they didn't get 3. But only positive, nice goal by Declan Rice. Good curler from 25 yards, and maybe he's starting to add even more goals to his game. And if he does that, there's really no ceiling for him.
Do you think he is the best CDM in the Premier League?
Tough one. I mean, do I think he's better than Rodri? And I think Rodri still is a bit. I think it's tough for me to say he's better than Rodri at the moment. But at the moment, he's the way he's going. He might in a year's time, I might be saying he is. But at the moment, I still think Rodri's a bit better than him.
Yeah, I think those two are clearly probably the best two in the Premier League, and I'll still put Rodri ahead, but only just. I don't think
Fabinho.
I don't rate Fabinho as highly as them two. I think them two can do so much more than Fabinho can. To be honest, I think Fabinho. I like Fabinho. He's a good player, but I do think he's overrated a bit at times.
I think a couple seasons ago, I would have said definitely Fabinho because he seems to have lost a bit from his game. I don't know what it is with him, but last couple of years he doesn't seem to be quite the same player he was a couple of years ago for some reason. But
Agreed. All right, let's move on to the last game of the weekend, which was Liverpool against Manchester City at Anfield, which finished 1-0 to Liverpool against the form books there. Sim went 3-2 to Man City. I went 4-1 to Man City, and it was anything but. I mean, Mo Salah capitalising off a terrible mistake from João Cancelo at the back, which he made a couple of those where Liverpool really could have scored from. And the start of the game, I thought Man City were the better side and they could have got a goal. But as the game wore on, I remember I was messaging someone at the time. I was like, look, Liverpool are going to win this game. You just had that feeling. You had that sense that Liverpool were going to nick something out of this game. And, it was a brilliant game of football. And I thought Liverpool deserved it by the end of it.
Yeah, I think they played the game to perfection. And I think, look, Liverpool know how to play against Man City in their structure as well. They know that Man City will come at them and there's going to be space for the likes of Salah and Jota to exploit. And they did it to perfection. So very impressive from Liverpool. Off the back of some really bad form. That would definitely give them a massive confidence boost to shoot back up the table. Although they have picked up some more injuries, Jota getting injured, so even less attacking options for them. But great goal as well from Salah to turn Cancelo and go through 1-1 after assist by Alisson. Really impressive.
What a kick from Alisson!
Unbelievable. He does that a few times, doesn't he, Alisson? It's not the first time he's done that. Absolutely fantastic from him. The only thing is. A bit of controversy. Foden's goal was ruled out. Was it a foul by I think it was Haaland on Fabinho was given? Was it a foul? Probably.
I think it was a foul.
Was it a foul? Probably.
I mean, he grabbed his shirt and pulled him down.
Have you seen more worse fouls not given?
Yeah,
this year, I mean?
I have seen worse fouls not given, but I think it's so hard to judge a decision on so many previous decisions. If you're looking at that decision isolated alone and not take into account what you've seen given and what you've seen not given, it's a foul. Yeah,
but the whole thing is VAR has a very high bar. Should that meet the high bar? Was that just because it was a foul? Does it mean that the goal should definitely be ruled out or has to be clear and obvious? You know what I mean? It's so subjective what meets the high bar for a foul and for a VAR intervention, what doesn't. And I've seen more blatant things than that not meet the high bar. So
I get that.
It's hard to see not that meet the high bar.
If you're taking out of your mind all those other decisions that you've seen and not seen and all that kind of stuff, and if you're just looking at that foul in an isolated situation, is it a foul or not?
Yeah, it's a foul, but you again, you can't take the whole thing because the rule is it's a high bar. So if other teams are getting away with things which are worse because of the high bar intervention, then it makes it unfair that one is ruled out because the high bar intervention gets lowered. So I can understand why Man City feel aggrieved that a goal was ruled out, but at the end of the day it was a foul. So how aggrieved can you be at the end of the day? And Man City
came to the right decision, to be honest.
It was the right decision, but I think you have a right to complain. I think Man City, but at the end of the day, Liverpool probably deserved the victory, and it was a really good game of football. It was two teams really going for it, ebbing and flowing, and you got to say Liverpool, brilliant victory under the circumstances.
The atmosphere was brilliant at Anfield. Jurgen Klopp got his red card as well, but it was a really good game for a neutral to watch. I really enjoyed that game yesterday, and credit to Liverpool for getting the result, and that leaves us on the same points as Man City now in second place, with Arsenal 4 points clear at the top of the table, which moves us on to the star men. Sim went for Eberechi Eze, I went for Wilfred Zaha, and it was 0-0 that game, so 0 points for us there. And that brings a close to this week's Spur-Spective, and there is quite a notable gap this week. 19 points is the gap, but there is still a lot of football left to be played. But there will be another episode of Predict the Prem coming out today, so keep an eye out for that. And thank you everyone for joining us today. Like, subscribe and comment, and as always, come on you Spurs.